Every year, people are asking the same exact question. What is the best beginner pet snake? And almost every single time you will hear somebody say, get a corn snake or get a ball python. Today, we're doing something different though, because after years of keeping different snakes, studying all snakes' behavior, the biology behind it, I have realized something very important. The best beginner snake isn't always the one the hobby repeats over and over. Some snakes are recommended just because they're common. Some snakes are recommended because they're popular. Some are recommended because they're small. Some are recommended because they're a little bit easier. But the real question beginners should be asking is this: which snake is hardy? Which snake is forgiving? And which is actually fun to keep? So today we're ranking the 5 best beginner snakes based on real biological and husbandry facts. So we are breaking it down by temperament, feeding reliability, environmental tolerance, handling experience, and overall keeper success. Because some snakes may be easy to care for, but that automatically doesn't mean they give the best experience. So let's start with number 5. At number 5, we have the Kenyan Sand Boa. This species comes from the semi-arid savannas and dry grasslands of East Africa, particularly Kenya and Tanzania. From a biological perspective, Kenyan Sand Boas are what scientists call fossorial species. That means they evolved to spend most of their lives underground. Their entire anatomy reflects that lifestyle. They have strong, powerful bodies. They have small wedge-shaped heads. They have smooth scales designed to slither through that soil. Instead of actively hunting prey in open environments, sand boas use ambush predation. They bury themselves beneath the substrate and wait for prey to pass overhead. Then they strike upward. In captivity, this natural history makes them extremely hardy animals, and they tolerate fluctuations pretty well, and they're not very particularly humidity sensitive. And because they evolved in relatively harsh climates, they tend to be very resilient snakes. And they also stay small. Most Kenyan Sand Boas are getting anywhere from about 2 to 3 feet, and this makes them extremely manageable for beginners. But there is a reason why they're number 5 on the list. That handling experience alone, because they're fossorial, because they're always hidden, you do not get to interact with that snake nearly as much as you would like or hope to. They're going to be spending 80 to 90% of their time buried in that substrate. So yes, they're fantastic animals biologically, but beginners sometimes expect a more interactive snake. And that's why the Kenyan Sand Boa lands at number 5. Number 4, we have the Rosy Boa. Rosy Boas are native to southwestern United States, Baja California, and northern Mexico. They inhabit rocky deserts, scrublands, and dry canyon environments. Like many desert reptiles, they evolved in ecosystems where environmental conditions can change dramatically between day and night. The evolutionary pressure created extremely resilient animals. Rosy boas tolerate temperature fluctuations very well. They are hardy eaters. They adapt to captive environments very well. But what makes a Rosy Boa extremely special is their extreme calm temperament. They are famous for being extremely calm. And to new keepers, that's pretty attractive. They move slowly, they rarely ever show defensive behavior, and they tolerate handling extremely well. From a behavioral standpoint, Rosy Boas rely on stealth and patience rather than speed or aggression. That calm temperament translates very well into captivity. Most adults reach 3 to 4 feet, so to a beginner, that size is very manageable. They're large enough to handle confidently, but small enough to manage easily. And the only reason it's not higher on this list is because of availability, in my opinion. They aren't simply as commonly available as you would say a ball python. They aren't commonly available as much as other species, so this is why this ranks number 4. Number 3, we have one of the more interesting, funny snakes in the entire industry, the Western Hognose Snake. Hognose come from the prairies and grasslands of North America, where they specialize in hunting amphibians and small vertebrates. Their most recognizable feature is the upturned rostral scale on their nose, which they use for digging through loose soil. But what makes hognose famous is their defensive behavior. Hognose rely heavily on bluff displays to scare predators. when they are threatened, they may flatten their necks like a cobra. They're gonna hiss loudly. They're gonna put on a performance with mock strikes. And the funniest of them all, they're gonna roll on their back and play dead. And this behavior has evolved into survival strategy. Many predators avoid prey that appear deceased or dying, so playing dead can actually prevent attacks. In captivity, these behaviors can look pretty dramatic, but it's completely normal and it's completely harmless. However, hognose are slightly more sensitive than other beginner species. They can sometimes go through shorter feeding strikes, and they may be a little bit more reactive to stress. But feeding strikes are typically stress related, but also remember, they eat amphibians. Amphibians aren't necessarily a prey that we can just go get at the market, right? So sometimes they transition or they have a hard time taking down the pinkies or the rodents when they may prefer an amphibian. Along with that, environmental stress they can be a little bit more picky with. So because of all this stuff, beginners who want a more bulletproof species, a hognose may not be for you. But for keepers who want personality, entertainment, and a rock-solid first snake, Western hognose is a perfect, and that's why it lands number 3 on my list. Before we reach the top 2, it's worth noting why snakes make incredible pets in the first place. Snakes have evolved as energy-efficient predators. Unlike mammals, they don't require constant feeding or social interaction. Their metabolism is built around efficiency. A single meal can sustain a snake for days or weeks, depending on the species, even months. That means snakes don't require the daily attention that many mammals do. But it also means their husbandry needs to replicate specific environmental conditions. You have your temperature gradients, your humidity control, your secure hiding places. When those biological needs are met, snakes become extremely low maintenance animals. But when those needs are ignored, stress responses appear quickly, which brings us into one of the most popular pet beginner snakes. Number 2, the ball python. The ball python is the world's most popular snake on the planet. They come from sub-Saharan Africa, where they inhabit savannas, grasslands, and agricultural areas. In the wild, they spend much of their time inside rodent burrows and termite mounds. These environments provide stable humidity, darkness, and protection from predators. Because of that natural history, ball pythons evolved to be extremely cryptic animals. Their survival strategy is avoidance. Instead of fighting predators, they hide. That's why when they're threatened or chilling, they're in a ball. That's where they get the name ball python. From a beginner perspective, this makes them very approachable snakes. They're slow moving, they rarely ever bite, and they're easy to handle. However, ball pythons can be very sensitive to environmental stress. When husbandry is not correct, they tend to shut down behaviorally. Instead of exploring, they will be hiding 24/7. And sometimes they refuse food for extended periods amounts of time. This is called breeding and seasonal fasting windows. If they refuse outside of those windows, it's because of stress. And when these guys are stressed, they're gonna ball up and shut down. But that behavior is completely biologically normal, but it can be extremely frustrating to a new reptile or snake keeper, especially keepers who get anxiety when their animal is not eating. So for that, the ball python is number 2. So for number 1, we have the Boa Impurator. This is gonna make a lot of people mad. The Boa Imperator, also known as the common boa, is one of the most underrated beginner snakes in the reptile hobby. The Boa Impurators are native to Central and South America, where they inhabit forests, scrublands, and tropical environments. Unlike ball pythons, boas rely heavily on environmental awareness and active exploration. They move through trees, they investigate scents, they interact with their surroundings constantly. Their behavioral difference creates a completely different captive experience. Boas are incredibly curious animals. They explore when they're handled, they investigate their environment, they behave more like active predators than hidden ambush specialists. They're also extremely reliable eaters. In captivity, boas will almost never refuse food, and if they do, something is extremely wrong. Most captive boa constrictors get anywhere from 6 to 8 feet, and honestly, that's not that bad. From a beginner perspective, that reliability removes one of the biggest stress factors in snake keeping. And another giant misconception is that boas get extremely large. They don't. Boas get anywhere from 6 to 8 feet. That's 2 to 3 feet more than a ball python. That's not that bad at all. And honestly, this is a lot more manageable than most keepers actually think, because boas do grow slow. If you're power feeding, they will not. But anyone who says boa constrictors grow fast are overfeeding them. You will not reach full adult size for about 6 to 8 years. That gives beginners plenty of time to upgrade enclosures as the snake grows. They're also extremely hardy animals. Their husbandry requirements are very straightforward. These guys are almost identical to a ball python. Their humidity requirements are about 10% more. Their feeding response is reliable, and their temperament is usually calm and confident. Many keepers describe these guys as puppy dogs because of how relaxed and comfortable they are. For beginners who have the space for an appropriately sized enclosure as they grow, Boa Impurators may offer the most rewarding beginner snake experience available. Every single snake on this list makes an amazing pet. Yes, a lot of snakes that you may have heard in the past are not on this list. Sand boas are hardy. Rosy boas are incredibly calm. Hognoses are super entertaining. Ball pythons are extremely beautiful and extremely gentle. But if you want a snake that's beautiful, curious, interactive, never misses a meal, and is actually pretty forgiving, the Boa Imperator might actually be the best beginner snake of them all. Let me know down below if you guys agree with this list, because odds are you probably don't. What would you guys change about the list? And if you guys got any value out of this list is not the normal list. This list is not me copying anybody else. This is my exact thoughts. So if you guys got any value, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And until next time.